Regardless of the fact that we are now just a few years off from the end of new internal combustion engine vehicle sales, they still continue to be the main market competitor in 2021. But new car costs have risen dramatically in recent years as a result of the extraordinarily difficult conditions that the industry has faced. This has ignited a little blaze throughout the automobile industry. However, Lucid, like Tesla, has a trick up his sleeve, and that is its sales approach, which is very much different from any traditional automaker and customer hassle-free and more economic. How Lucid's sales technique removes a huge hassle for new vehicle purchasers, as well as how the big boys are pressuring people to purchase a brand new Lucid Air. Stay tuned to know the answers to these questions. Welcome back to New Vehicle Media, your go-to channel for EV stock. Quick reminder, subscribing's free and liking the video helps YouTube suggest similar content. Comments are loved and featured in upcoming videos. Due to the supply shortfalls and inactive manufacturing facilities, the COVID-19 epidemic so far has been particularly devastating to the automotive industry. This is owing to the various industries affected by the outbreak. Just last year, sales at General Motors dropped 40%, but GM isn't the only one feeling the squeeze. The major traditional automotive sector is expected to suffer a massive $210 billion in damages through 2021 as a result of the absence of semiconductor microchips. Appetite for semiconductors in the gadgets industry increased once COVID struck, and the automotive sector was forced to drastically slow down. Due to the imposed confinement of consumers throughout the globe at households, sales of smartphones, televisions, workstations, video games, and many other home devices that employ electronics from vendors who also provide the automotive sector increased dramatically. Many microchips and future manufacturing agreements had already been secured by the global market when automakers were ready to go back to making EVs once the epidemic showed the signs of slowing down. In addition, a manufacturing fire at Renesas Electronics in Japan caused significant damage, with Ford bearing the brunt of the consequences. For production levels to recover to pre-fire norms, it would take 6 months for the plant. The notion that COVID forced the shutdown of chip makers in the key manufacturing locations in China, Taiwan, and South Korea only served to increase the scarcity of the valuable semiconductors comes as no surprise. Automobiles were all being constructed as if there was an infinite amount of semiconductors accessible, which resulted in numerous tiny but measures in case being leveraged for modest, specific functions in a car. It's expected that the number of separate chips regulating each and every functionality will be reduced in future models. Individuals over time has been restricted as a byproduct of all these supply chain issues and COVID blackouts, as well as the widely hated practice of dealership markups as a result of significant consumption and low inventory levels. COVID and the semiconductor shortfall have pushed markups to unprecedented levels, since the dealership buys the automobile only from the traditional manufacturers and wants to make more profit before selling it to the customer. Owing to a shortage of availability and a high demand for new automobiles, auto dealers throughout the country have already been increasing the pricing of modern cars by outrageous margins. It turns out that John Redinger, who was responsible for providing Lucid fans with information of the over-the-air updates, was really seeking to purchase an EQS Mercedes-Benz. Having booked one with the dealership, the salesperson called to notify him that the vehicle's $119,000 price would be subject to an overcharge of $50,000. He didn't bother to pay the hefty premium to the dealership and went on to buy the Lucid Air, where he could purchase directly from the manufacturer and avoid such price spikes. And that is where the huge advantage for the Californian startup began over the traditional automakers who were restricted to sell their vehicles only by means of dealerships. Now, guess who has a strong dislike for the direct sales approach? If your guess was traditional auto dealerships, you were right. As longtime participants in the purchasing process, car dealers may have a significant political influence. In some cases, distributor groups have indeed been successful in having state legislators forbid direct sales completely, while in other cases, they've been successful in having legislators allow direct sales with certain restrictions on the company. Tesla received a great deal of criticism from politicians and dealership unions when it became the poster child for direct sales. But this has subsided considerably in recent months, and now Lucid also sells autos directly to consumers via its website to avoid the customer hassle of paying a premium to dealerships. Regardless of whether you support or oppose the direct sale approach for cars, it is apparent that a $50,000 markup would have been sufficient to drive all but the most passionately loyal clients away from a firm and into the grips of a competitor that doesn't impose such markups. In an environment where electric vehicles are becoming more popular as personal transportation of tomorrow, and where younger EV businesses are selling directly to customers, legacy manufacturers will be forced to take action or risk slipping further behind their competitors. For the time being, manufacturers do not have the legal right to administer the prices of their cars to dealerships, and this gives a huge advantage to EV startups like Lucid. Lucid Motors is the only electric vehicle business with the ability and willingness to revolutionize the industry. As a result of their emphasis on providing consumers with a premium electric car that is unmatched in terms of capability and efficiency, the electric vehicle firm now has one of the most compelling value propositions in the premium industry. We are not limited to a particular shade of color when it comes to the electric future. Even though traditional automakers are jumping into the EV race, you'll find more differences between the 2022 Lucid Air Grand Touring and the 2022 Mercedes-Benz EQS than you would in an S-Class and BMW 7 Series face-off. Because two traditional automakers can compete in the same market, but it is a completely different story when you compete with an EV maker. The EV products from Lucid and Mercedes are so different, choosing a champion is very much an easy task. The most significant differential for the Californian business, nevertheless, is its driving endurance of more than 500 miles, which is far more than that of its competitors. Buyers of electric cars are largely concerned with expenditures and driving range, and Lucid Motors offers a distinct advantage in both areas. CEO Peter Rawlinson's business and its stakeholders have lofty aspirations for the delivery of Lucid Air, and failing to meet those objectives would be a big setback for the company. Nonetheless, due to the aggressive investment in Lucid Motors' manufacturing capacity and the firm's intentions to expand into new markets in 2022, the electric vehicle business is expected to collect a significant backlog of orders this year. The most significant danger for Lucid Motors is that it could have failed to meet its delivery deadlines. However, based on the body language of the executives, it seems like they may have met one target and are now on track to reach the next. The electric vehicle sector is not new to nerve-wracking delivery delays, which have resulted in stock values for several businesses falling as a consequence. If Lucid is able to sidestep these industry-standard blocking obstacles, it has the ability to surprise and please stakeholders. The equity market was in general sluggish since the start of the new year. Cisco Valenzuela questions why anybody would be upset about a stock that has more than doubled in value in less than a year. He expects the stock will continue to rise at a steady pace, similar to what he predicts would happen with Tesla. That should wrap things up for today. Keep in mind that subscribing is still free, and liking helps YouTube recognize your preferences. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.